Hello and welcome back, everyone. I hope you're having a good week. Today is World Obesity Day. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Hooper here at MISA Dallas, and we are very excited to talk with all of you today a little bit about obesity as a disease throughout the world and gain some additional insight and education for that. We also have a previous patient or post-op patient who is joining us, who's going to tell us a little bit about her story. And I see her kind of hanging in the wings. Hi, I'll be right in there to grab you in just a second. So let's see if we can bring out our guest today. Hi there, how are you? I can't quite hear you. Wait.
I'm great. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Um,
Can
so,
you hear me?
yes, can you hear me?
Thank
Okay, good. Maybe back your phone
Yes,
up
ma'am.
just a little bit.
Ah, is that
There-
better?
Yep, and maybe down just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Uh,
Oh,
no,
wrong
like
way.
this.
There you go. Now we can
How's,
see you. Perfect. It's
okay.
great to have you here with
Thank
us, Susan. Thanks for joining me. So, today we are talking about world obesity and how this is a problem that we can see throughout not only the United States but throughout the world. Hi, we see somebody from Facebook on our broadcast. Thanks for joining us today. So I think one of the things that we can really lead off with in this year, in the past year with a pandemic, is that we're really interconnected, that we've seen a disease travel across the world very quickly this year, and especially in our population of patients that we care for here, that we've seen COVID can be more destructive in people who are overweight. And so the World Obesity Organization actually has said that for people who are obese, meaning a BMI over 30, that were 2 times more likely to be hospitalized with COVID than someone who has a BMI under 30. So I think that's a very current and accurate way to realize that this disease can cause more trouble for people. Um, so I want to pause though and talk about something a little bit more uplifting. And I'd really like you, Susan, to share a little bit about your story, about how you came to treat this medical illness and what you've done and how things are going for you now.
Okay. Thank you. When I first started, I mean, I've been on diets my whole life. I believe the first time that I can really remember being put on a diet was when I was 8 years old, and I've always been overweight my whole life. And I'm, you know, working all the time on losing weight. And then I got up to 336 pounds, and it was in 2007. So I started the process to get a lap band. And when I got
Hmm.
that lap band, I um, was so happy, and it took me about 10 months, and I lost 100 pounds. And I still had more to go, obvious, but I just seemed to have just flat, like it's just like I just quit. And there were certain things in my life that happened, but still, it was just like I quit, and I didn't, I wouldn't. I went up and I went down and up and down, and I ended up in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk and stuff. And then finally in 2017, I decided to do keto, and my goal was to get my knees operated on, which I
Okay.
did. But again, I gained weight back since that time. I'm about, well, I've gained more, but I'm about now about 25 pounds heavier than I was back when I had surgery. And so I decided, well, I had problems with the lap band. So Dr. Kukreja was the doctor I was referred to. He took it out in
Hmm.
November, and I contacted him again and said, "What can I do? I got to lose this weight. I don't want to get in another." And so we started the process of going through the gastric sleeve, and I had a
Hmm.
surgery date. The pandemic stopped, and then finally did it on February the 11th. And from the day that I actually had the surgery and what I weighed on my scales, I'm right down right now. I'm down 23 pounds. So
And
I'm
that's
happy
in
about that.
about 6 weeks, right? 5 weeks,
No, I'm
4 weeks, a month?
actually 4 weeks. No, not quite a
Um,
month. I'm about 3.5 because it was
okay.
on a Thursday. And all I know is it was right before that snowstorm.
Okay. Yeah. So that is wonderful. And I think your story is really similar to a lot of people. They've had really serious attempts and successful attempts at weight loss. And then over time, they see weight go back on, especially with diet alone. And part of that is the way our body adapts to try to hold on to calories. And so part of what we're doing with surgery, there's a reason why we call it bariatric and metabolic surgery. We're trying to change and influence and manipulate the metabolism. And we do that much more effectively with a sleeve or with a bypass as compared, or a duodenal switch as compared to a lap band, which is just kind of limiting how much food falls into the stomach at one time. And so our anticipation is that you're going to have better long-term weight loss success than you were able to have with those other interventions.
Yes, I'm hoping so, and I feel it already. Good.
Good. I'm really excited for you. I think it's really good for people to see someone who is kind of early in their post-op journey and recognize that while they're, you know, you've got a long road ahead to improve your health, you're already starting to see some of those benefits.
Yes.
Do
Yes, and
you
very thrilled to be getting them.
Good. What kinds of changes have you
Do I do
noticed
what?
just we have a little delay, sorry. What kinds of changes have you noticed just in the last couple of weeks since your surgery that you feel like maybe you're better able to do things for
Okay.
yourself?
Well, just since the I've felt better. My wounds seem to, from the surgery, seem to have healed really fast. I was shocked at that part, but, and that was great. Like faster wound healing.
Yeah,
My blood
okay.
sugar, of all insulin, metformin, I'm off of everything, and it's staying. I mean, it is a little bit higher than whenever I had it, but not significantly. And my primary care physician, he said, just as long as I didn't go, he gave me a number. If I don't go above that, don't worry. And, otherwise call him. So that's good. I've gotten to pull out some of my clothes that I've had and had not been able to wear since at least a year to a year and a half ago. And I'm getting to wear them
That's so
and then
exciting
have
and
a new and have a new goal of getting some new outfit when I lose about 20 more pounds. So,
that's awesome. I'm really happy for you. You're getting some great feedback. I don't know if you can see the little comments, but people are saying, way to go. Weight loss is so hard. I had the sleeve and I've lost a lot of weight. More to go. Best decision I've ever made. Congrats to you. And also that they really love the metabolic piece, had the surgery in October. Best wishes. I think that's really great. Um, for um, for a lot of
Thank you.
people, yeah. The For a lot of people, I think having that support through our Facebook page can be really beneficial as you're moving through some of those milestones. Or, for some people, maybe they're not seeing the scale move quite as quickly, but we can talk about those non-scale victories like better blood pressure control or better blood sugar control, or moving more freely, less weight on your joints, and noticing those changes. And then I think especially for women, feeling their clothes fit differently. I think men notice that too, but truly, like, female culture has so much like shopping and some of that, there's a lot more women's magazines than there are men's magazines. And so we're force fed that
Right.
culture that of clothing and the mall, I guess. So I'm I'm so excited for you to see all of those changes as they are coming your way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't see them, so it's okay. But thank you
Well,
for reading some of that
that's
to me.
those things also take time. Sometimes people their brain lags a little bit behind the changes with their body, and you have to do some real positive self-talk that you're making good changes and things are happening and other people are noticing it, and working on accepting those compliments from people without going, oh, well, this or that, or brushing it off, but really just saying thank you and hearing
This
those
is
those
true.
good
That
things. Yeah. So
yes, and I
I
and I appreciate you telling me that, and I appreciate the other people saying something.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so when we talk about being overweight and being obese as a medical disease, which I really want to try to highlight this week, that it's just like if we were talking about high blood pressure. This is a disease that affects people in a chronic way that we have to manage. And so there are all kinds of things all over the world that people are doing to try to intervene and help people be healthier. Um, so the World Obesity Group has a program for success, and they call it Roots. RR. I'm going to sound like I'm from Western Oklahoma, which is where I'm from. Sorry to all my Texans out there watching. Roots, ROOTS, that is different ways that we can kind of advocate for appropriate treatment for people with obesity, for reduction in weight bias, like Dr. Kukreja talked about on Monday. So I'm just going to read through these. It's kind of long, but I think it's really beneficial for people who maybe are thinking about surgery, people who've had surgery, to think about and to advocate in this way. So number one, recognize obesity is a chronic disease and multifactorial and a serious driver of other diseases like osteoarthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, with serious implications for individuals and their families and societies and economies. So if we think bigger and bigger and bigger, we can affect all of those things. Obesity monitoring and surveillance and innovative research into the causes and effective strategies for preventing and treating obesity must be vigorously promoted and supported. So that kind of goes into what I was talking about yesterday about reaching out to your elected representatives and being brave and saying, I want you to support this legislation that provides funding for these things, or talking with your insurance company at your work that you're going to go to and say, are we going to have coverage for prevention? Like, are you going to give us a discount at a gym so we can get more exercise and activity? Or are we going to have bariatric coverage in our insurance plan next year? If not, why not? Um, Obesity prevention strategies must be developed, tested, and implemented across the life course, all the way from very early childhood and even preconception through older age. And then we've gotten to the T now of roots. So treatment of obesity using evidence-based, dignified, non-stigmatizing, and person-centered approaches that include behavioral, pharmacological, digital, physical activity-based, and surgical interventions should be accessible to all people. And that's really important. We have so many people who really struggle with that, in having that accessibility. And then a systems-based approach should be applied to the management of obesity, aimed at strengthening health systems, enabling obesity incorporation into primary and secondary care, and addressing the environmental, society, social, and commercial roots of obesity. So that's not too much to unpack, right, Susan?
No, not at all. I couldn't write all that down at the time you were saying it. But
So
no, but I mean, I definitely agree with it.
yeah, so it's a lot of heavy material, but I think it's really important to say. Now, for people who are on our social media, who are really social media savvy, some of the really simple ways you can advocate for this type of information and knowledge and acceptance in the greater population, you can follow Obesity Cares Week on Instagram and share in your stories what they're talking about this week. They've got nice little easy screens about Obesity Cares Week that are very easy to share. And, maybe people that you are friends with will see some of that and go, oh yeah, that is interesting. And the more we talk about it and discuss this as a medical problem, the better we can be about eliminating bias and discrimination and lack of access to care. And that's the same worldwide. Um, so, yeah, so a little bit more from Facebook. So, help us to be healthy, and it helps so much to make us feel human, because most of us who share this commonality of obesity have been marginalized so long that we simply aren't often in a space to advocate for ourselves. We love this. I think that I would encourage everyone to be empowered to advocate. I think, Susan, for you and your professional life, you've been an advocate for people throughout to help them. And so maybe totally putting you on the spot, um, how do you help people speak up or advocate and make sure that they are being heard when they need to be heard?
Well, I think that one, I mean, you have to, when I say practice, have a sounding board, best friend, somebody that you can just say how you do and get your whole comments all set up and what is it that you want to say to advocate for people. And each person is, while we might have a common disease, obesity, but we're all different. And advocating for each of us, there is a little bit of differences there. I mean, I'm somebody that gets Medicare and have a Medicare Advantage plan, but there's people that just have regular insurance, or only people that can don't have insurance and they have to pay and stuff like that. So I think advocating is based upon each person's situation. But I also think that what needs to out, we and this was from something you just said, when you were reading that statement, is, you know, we we have this, and like I personally have diabetes, and of course I've gotten off of this, but I have obesity also. people talk about it being a disease, but when you go and, oh, well, just lose weight. Oh, well, just do this, just do that. Or even if you get like a lap band, a sleeve, a gastric bypass, whatever, those are tools. And
Hmm.
I think we forget, us who have had, not, I mean, I'm still obese, but I may not look obese at the moment, but I still have obesity. You
Hmm.
wouldn't know I had diabetes unless I told you. But yeah, and I'm not on medication, but I still have diabetes,
Yeah.
and it has to be watched. I mean, we have to all
I think that's a good way to think
do our
about it
part.
long
It's to
term.
those that are providing insurance or companies, and and do what
Oh, I
did
think
you ask me?
sorry, our delay is still there a little bit. So I think that that situation of realizing that this is a chronic disease, just like your diabetes, is kind of in remission or well controlled, but keeping an eye on that is a really smart way to think about taking care of your health long term.
Well, well, yes, and that's part of it. But you know, I know when I was dieting as a youngster, and when after you lose weight or whatever, it wasn't about buying you new dresses, buying nothing like that. It was about, oh, and we'll go eat a big steak and baked potato at such and such, pleasantly counterintuitive. But the point, the point that for me is, I have to single that I am. I don't care if I end up not looking obese, still am. And it's the only way I'm not going to. And I think that insurance companies, employers, whatever, they need to be aware of that, because I might need to go see the nutrition, and I can't just afford it, and all
Hmm.
these things, and insurance isn't just going to pay for it because it's not a super quote medical reason. That the you know it needs to be considered, I guess, more
Yeah, I
as
think
the
that's a
disease that it is.
I think that's a great way for us to kind of wrap up that we want to continue working together and pushing society here in the US and around the world to improve the understanding of obesity, to fund education about it, to fund research on how to treat it in more ways than we currently have, and to continue to treat others with respect and dignity that they deserve, and to continue to advocate and support for more insurance and coverage for all people who have this problem. So I'm going to say thank you to Susan, and I really appreciate your time
We'll
and sharing your story
definitely
today.
cover. Thank you.
All right. For anyone who has any questions, you can always leave them under the video on our Facebook page, and I'll go back and review those later. And again, thank you, Susan. We really appreciate you. Tomorrow, let me just tell you that tomorrow at noon, tomorrow is Childhood Obesity Day, and Dr. Kikreja is going to be leading the talk tomorrow with a couple of guests, and we're excited to bring that to you as well. If you're really busy, I hope that you'll go back and watch these talks from this whole week at another time, because I think we've been able to provide a lot of good and different information than we maybe normally talk about on our support group. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good day, and thank you very much, Susan. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.